Welcome, everybody, to the NFL show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Of course, brought to you, as always, by Replenishing Care and Technologies. Check them out at rcandt.com. I'm your co-host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host for the NFL show, Sam Teets. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me on today.
All right, week one was yesterday, and I think the thing that I take away from this most is that NFL preseason is a waste of time because I think the quality of play may have been better than what it was the last couple of years, the first week of the season.
Yeah, I just think so. It's pretty good. I don't think there was that many sloppy games. I think we just had some issues where there maybe was some poor coaching, some decisions like that maybe stuck out and made games a little bit difficult. But our point, I think it was perfectly fun football. I think we had some really good games. I really enjoyed it.
All right, we'll start off with last night. The Dallas Cowboys went to L.A. to open up SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles against the Rams. Both teams' defenses, I thought, looked very good. The offenses not quite as good. 20-17, the Rams get the win. And I think the Rams could have used some more offense, but I don't think anybody can argue that Todd Gurley was missed because in the first look at Sean McVay's new running back by committee, Malcolm Brown scored both of LA's TDs and were part of an effort of 153 yards rushing that led to the biggest stat in all this, I think, which was over 35 minutes time of possession for the Rams, Sam.
Yeah, I think they had more than 10 minutes more possession than Dallas Cowboys did. And really, like you said, it was the running game. They gave 14 carries to Cam Akers, 18 to Malcolm Brown. Darrell Henderson kind of got lost in the shuffle. I think he'll have a limited role, if any role, moving forward because of last night. Meanwhile, the passing game really wasn't working. Jared Goff struggled, which isn't anything new. We saw it all last year. But really, the running game kind of held this offense together. And I was surprised at how good Los Angeles defenses was, or perhaps just how bad Dallas's offense was.
All right, we also have a special guest, our Cleveland Browns writer. So we can't call her an NFL writer, Shelly Harkar.
Hey.
How you doing, Shelly?
Good, Mike. Hi, Sam. Doing okay.
All right, we're talking a little bit about the Cowboys and the Rams from last night. And the thing that stood out to me most, Sam, was I know they talk about the penalty at the end of the game, but to me, the game was lost by Mike McCarthy the way Mike McCarthy usually loses games, by a stupid decision.
Yep.
4th and 3 on, the 16-yard line with 11 minutes left, and they go for it. Shelly, that's Mike McCarthy's career in a nutshell, isn't it?
Pretty much. From everything I can remember, not that I pay that much attention to Mike McCarthy, but yeah, I don't know what world you think that's a good idea, Mike McCarthy, but sure, okay, I'm not a Cowboys fan. Lose, whatever.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the call, Sam Teets, because I can't stand the
That's
Cowboys.
true. Hey, that's fair.
Yeah, so when we look at this, though, I think that the big thing I take away is Dallas probably still is the best team in the NFC East, because the NFC East, I think 8-8 might win the division.
They could probably win the division without anybody else, working too hard, McCarthy included.
Yeah, so
just look at the Eagles versus Washington the other day. I would never have picked Washington to come out and win there. I thought they were actually one of the teams that would be competing for potentially the top pick in the draft. And they go out there and they win 27-17. It just didn't make any sense to me. But if that's the kind of player you're going to get, 8-8, 7-9 can win this whole thing.
Yeah, but we also know that everybody tends to overreact, especially the first week of the season. When your team plays bad, then the sky is falling, and now you're trying to get Trevor Lawrence. If your team wins, let's face it, the Jacksonville Jaguars may only win that one game this year. So I think people read way too much into the first game of the season. And we're going to go ahead and read too much into the New Orleans Saints, 34, to Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 23. Sam Teets to me, and I'm always the biggest Tom Brady defender, but he did look uncomfortable, and he did look like he was starting to show his age yesterday, Sam.
Well, there are a couple of plays where he just missed receivers. He just completely missed them by a good 5 or 6 yards. There was a time when they had an opportunity to put points on the board. He completely missed the guy wide open in the flat and ended up airmailing the ball out the back of the end zone. So to me, Tom Brady looked a little bit out of sync. I don't know. Maybe he'll get better as the year gets on. Maybe he'll go back to the drawing board and correct things for week 2. But he looked older. Meanwhile, Drew Brees on the other side, they kept him down kind of only 160 passing yards. They didn't make him do too much. And that defense and the running game were helping him out the whole way. And we didn't see that from Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's scary here, Shelly, is when we look at the Saints, Drew Brees is a little older also, but 18 of 30, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. They still put up 34 points. It tells you they got the defense. They've got the running game. I think they're one of the more complete teams in football.
Yeah, I mean, you can't count Drew out ever, and so he's 41. He's still, you can see he's still got it. Brady, that was kind of surprising. I think we've all just kind of got that idea of Tom Brady's untouchable, and he's going to be perfect. And it's just the same thing you see all over the league. It's a new team, it's a new look. They've had nothing normal as far as practices and OTAs and things, which is what the season's been. And I kept reading this same thing over and over, looking at the different wires that Father Time's undefeated. And unfortunately for Tom, I just hope he doesn't do what Brett Favre did and drag this out till he looks ridiculous. I hope he's smart enough to know when it's time to hang it up.
Well, I think this also. I think over the last 5 years, how many times have we seen the Patriots get bludgeoned early in the season and everybody says, well, this is it, Tom Brady's done. And then he's still standing in the Super Bowl, playing in the Super Bowl at the end of that season. Yeah. So I'm not going to read too much into it because of that. Now, on the other hand, the New England Patriots, first game without Tom Brady. They beat the Miami Dolphins 21-11. Cam Newton ran for 2 touchdowns. He was 15 for 19 passing. I think what we see here, Sam, is what we're going to see with the Patriots all year, where they're just going to try to run the ball. But I also think it's easy to say that this is one of the Patriots' easier games against the Dolphins. And I still think if this is the way this team's going to play, I don't think there's a very high ceiling for the Patriots this year.
Yeah, I think we might have learned a little bit more about Miami this past week than we did about New England. Because really, they didn't push Cam Newton too much in the offense. I like the fact that they got him involved in the running game. I like the fact they had some design runs for him. But at the same point, they didn't really ask him to open it up. He wasn't throwing the ball very much. We didn't see him really try to air it out. And again, they don't have any great receiving threats there either. But I think we really learned is we're going to see Tua Tagovailoa sooner rather than later. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick threw 3 interceptions, basically gifted New England the win. So I think we're going to see Tua week 4, week 3, probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I think this, Shelley, I think it was crazy to start Ryan Fitzpatrick over Tua. You paid that much money to him, you might as well see what he can do.
I mean, have Fitzpatrick waiting there holding his clipboard. He can give him a lot of backup experience from just different ways. Putting him on the field is the best way Tua is going to learn anything. Although I was real excited for Cam Newton and Julian Edelman. They seem to have a little bit of chemistry starting. I think they hooked 5 times. So, but yeah, you're paying a lot of money for somebody. Send him out there. Give him a shot.
Yeah, he's not going to do worse than Ryan Fitzpatrick, I wouldn't think. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a guy that will play a couple great games and then a couple games that make you wonder how he's even in the NFL. Let's transition to the 49ers. This was my favorite game of the day, just because all the 49er fans that think their team's going to run away with the Super Bowl this year because they almost did it last year. And yesterday, they're at home against the Arizona Cardinals. They get beat 24-20. Kyler Murray completed 65% of his passes for 230 yards, threw a touchdown, threw an interception. But the thing is, to me, this 49ers offense still has a lot of questions here, Sam.
When it starts for me at wide receiver, I mean, you didn't have a Uke out there. You didn't have Deebo Samuel. You didn't have a receiving threat. Kittle got beat up a little bit early in the game. He did come back, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, there's only so much you can expect from George Kittle. Really, most of your receiving effort came from Raheem Mostert, and that was one long play they had there that kind of boosted his numbers. So you don't really have any star pass catchers. You don't have a guy like Emmanuel Sanders who we had last season. I'm concerned about the pass game, honestly. I think the running game will probably still be all right, even though it wasn't phenomenal yesterday. Well, I'm concerned about the pass game, and Jimmy Garoppolo did not look clean. He did not look crisp late in that game. So I'm concerned about 49ers offense. I mean, their defense could still be good. But if they're only scoring 23 points a game, they're not going to win 10 games.
Yeah, when I look at this game, I think the bigger question here is, Shelley, are the Arizona Cardinals for real? Are they a playoff contender?
I think they could be. It's the first week such a hard test anyway, and this is such a weird season. But they really had it together, and to go into San Francisco and defy everybody's expectations, and I think they have a shot at it. And who knows?
All right, the Green Bay Packers opened up the season with a 43-34 win over the Minnesota Vikings. And I still think, I said this on the show last week, and you kind of questioned me here, Sam, but I think this is Mike Zimmer's last year in Minnesota. And I think the way they played this game, I mean, what was it, maybe 10 passes in the first half at most for Kirk Cousins. And then when they turn Cousins loose, they start scoring points, but it's too late because they're too far behind. And when I look at this, the thing I take away from this is I think the Minnesota Vikings are a team that's destined for about a 6-win season, Sam.
I mean, yeah, they're not going to be Super Bowl contenders, especially not at this rate. I don't think they're going to be, like you said, they could be borderline playoff teams, maybe 6 wins. I'd give them a little bit more credit than that. I'd probably say closer to 8 or 9. But at the same point, like, you're right. If Zimmer, I'll give you this, if Zimmer does not get this team to at least the second round of the playoffs, he's done. Because we've seen this story before. The Vikings always have had pieces, but they've never actually gone out there and made that super deep run. They never made it to the Super Bowl. So I think at this point, it's do or die for Mike Zimmer. It's do or die for the Minnesota Vikings because they can't have any more prime seasons of this. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers looked phenomenal yesterday.
Yeah, and the big question here is the secondary for the Minnesota Vikings. I think it's a huge issue with them, Shelley, and I think it's going to be the thing that really ends up being their downfall.
Yeah, they definitely didn't have what it, they put some points up, but it wasn't what they needed to get them over the edge. I agree with Sam. You're looking at mediocre to good season, maybe. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, this is going to be his revenge tour. Go ahead and draft this kid, but I still have gas in my tank too.
Well, and the thing is, the kid that they got's never going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL anyways. Next up, the LA Chargers beat the Cincinnati Bengals 16-13. And when I look at this, Sam, I still think it's a questionable call in the end zone, but it doesn't matter. This entire game hinged on the one thing that I've told you all along. Opie Taylor is not an NFL football coach. He's basically a 12-year-old boy playing Madden, and it doesn't work this way. And the fact that you've got Joe Burrow and you don't play with any tempo until the end of the game is really sad. But the thing that makes it even sadder is how well Burrow played once they went tempo.
Well, you saw it. They were driving down there. I thought for sure they were going to get that win. I had a total confidence in Burrow there late in the game. It kind of gets taken out of his hands there at the very end. I don't know. I think they should have won that game. They should have definitely won that game. And like we talked about the Bengals defense potentially being a weakness. Well, they held the Chargers to 16 points. So if you're going to get that kind of performance from your defense, even though I know it's only against Tyrod Taylor, but if you're going to pull that off, you have to win that game. So I am disappointed in how it was coached. I think Joe Burrow should have had a larger role, especially late in the game. I think he was on a roll, and they kind of took it away from him. So I feel like that was the game they should have won. And you said if there's no coaching adjustments here, that's going to be a long season. You could potentially ruin Burrow's rookie year.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the problem in Cincinnati and Cleveland. No matter how much talent you get, Shelley, you still don't have the coaching to be able to win with it.
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed. I thought Burrow, he looked great for his first time out. I mean, yeah, there's all the little rookie blurbs, and his little shovel pass was a bad idea. But yeah, you gotta have the support of a staff that knows what to do with the talent. And I've seen this in Cleveland. Forever. But yeah, I thought they could have done it. I hate offensive pass interference calls across the board because I just think they're dumb. But yeah, they've got to have somebody who knows what to do with that kind of young talent, because the last thing you want to do is take a Joe Burrow and just, decimate his confidence and turn him into like this guy who, I came in here the Heisman Trophy winner and the savior of the franchise, and now they are burning me in effigy in Town Square. It's not Burrow. You got to look above that.
All right, next up, the Washington football team. The Philadelphia Eagles had a 17-0 lead against a team called the football team, and they got beat 27-17, Sam. And I think the one thing it shows us is what I said before. They're not very good, but I think they'll win 5 or 6 games just because I think they've got the best defensive line in the NFL. And I think a lot of that showed itself yesterday, plus the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles just have a terrible offensive line.
Well, it was injuries too for Philadelphia. They didn't have Lane Johnson. I think they had 3 backup players moving into starting roles on the offensive line. It's been the injury bug has really bit them hard in the year, kind of like it did last season for Philadelphia. But you're right. The defensive front in Washington, it's been monstrous. Ryan Kerrigan had 2 sacks, and he struggled all last year. Montez Sweat had a sack. Jonathan Allen got in there. Darren Payne got in there. All these guys, Chase Young had a sack and a half. All these guys they've drafted in the early round of the last couple of years. I mean, it's been phenomenal. It's been a great unit that I put together. This is going to be the saving grace of Washington if they do manage to pull anything off during the season.
Yeah, so the football team has already won one more game than what most people expected, Shelley. Is this a team that can do something, or is just this a blip? It's an opening game, one of those. Every year it seems like 4 or 5 games, there's shockers, and this is one of them. But the thing that stood out here is you got Ron Rivera, who I think is the best coach they've had in Washington probably since Joe Groves. Not that he's great, but he's steady, and his team's playing hard for him. So I think there is some hope in Washington until you remember Daniel Snyder owns the team.
Yeah, that kid should have gone a long time ago. But, yeah, I think a lot of it's going to just depend on what Haskins is doing with his sophomore season. I mean, I loved the kid when he was a Buckeye. Rivera is I think he's going to do okay. I think he's going to push them in the right direction. I think a lot of it's just going to hinge on, is Haskins going to produce? He'll go okay, mediocre. Yeah, that and the cast that they put around him, how's that going to play out? I think that's going to be really the key for Washington, because Haskins, I think he's another one of those, okay, here's the rookie savior of the world, but maybe not so much. So
yeah, but the difference between Haskins and Burrow is the only people that think that about Haskins are the people in Washington. Greg Gorecki says for the Browns it's since Sam Rutigliano left. I would say it was since Marty Schottenheimer. Marty Schottenheimer was a good.
Definitely Marty. Marty
Plus,
did good.
I just like Marty. But all right, next up, the Detroit Lions did what Detroit Lions do. They took a 23-6 lead and turned it into a 27-23 loss. Mitchell Trubisky was absolutely atrocious for 3 quarters, great for the 4th quarter. And when you look at this, Sam, does this change your opinion on Mitchell Trubisky? It does not change mine, but does it change yours?
Well, 1 quarter doesn't mean very much. I think we gotta wait and see a little bit more. Trubisky, you can pull it off 1 quarter, but you gotta remember it's against the Detroit Lions, who didn't have their first-round pick Jeff Okudah at cornerback, so they didn't have much defensively. It's the Lions' defense. They've been notoriously bad over the last 2 years. So no, this doesn't change my mind at all. I'm sticking with what I concluded earlier, but I'm also sticking with my mind that Matt Patricia is going to be fired after the season.
Yeah, Matt Patricia last year lost 7 fourth-quarter leads. He's already lost 1 this year, and there's only been 1 game. And Matt Patricia's teams tend to collapse, and I think Matt Patricia's career as a head coach in the NFL is about to collapse, Shelley.
Yeah, it was predictably sad. I don't know how he stayed around as long as he has, but I don't see him hanging around unless he manages to perform some kind of miracle between now and real soon. But yeah, that was Trubisky didn't look great at all, but I think the Lions could have done a lot more to hang on to their lead. And again, it's just like every place else. It comes down from the top. And I don't
almost won that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, it's just I don't see it coming from the top there in Detroit.
I was gonna say Detroit almost actually held on to win the game. DeAndre Swift drops a touchdown in the end zone, so it came down to a close one. But I mean, these are both teams, Detroit and Chicago, that I don't have much faith in going forward.
No. All right, now Shelley brought up 2 words that bring me to the next game. I think this is the perfect segue. Predictably sad. The Baltimore Ravens 38, the Cleveland Browns 6. The Browns are a mess, Shelley, and I think the biggest issue here is
I'm shocked.
You got players, but there's no
players
quarterback in the house. I bet he does make really cool commercials.
He makes great commercials, and I love those commercials. It's the same song. It's a different verse, but it's the same song we've heard in Cleveland since 1999, I believe.
I
Yeah,
think it's
the
the
guy.
same song you've heard since about 1965, Shelley.
No, we had some decent stuff going on. I mean, Cardiac
Decent.
Kids, come on,
Yeah, but
Bernie,
the Cardiac Kids are down
Kozar.
14-12 within range of a 30-yard field goal, and they decide to
Yeah,
throw it into the
they
end
throw
zone.
it to Ozzie Newsome. Yeah.
Yeah.
The drive, the
1986,
fumble.
you give up a 98-yard drive at home to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The next year, you fumble the ball going into the end zone to tie the game. But I digress.
I have all that history burned in my soul. Yeah, I didn't expect a lot just because as I was watching the game, I just kept saying to myself, are we that bad? Are the Ravens that good? Well, yeah, the Ravens are that good. Just, if they had a flaw last year, it was a little blurb of defense, and now they have Campbell, who, kid's 300 pounds, 6'8". I mean, Baker's barely 6 foot tall. So right there, that was a given. This guy's
wait a second. Drew Brees is only 5'10". Russell Wilson's 5'11", and they seem to do all right.
I know. I'm not saying that's a reason he didn't do well. I'm just saying that was a predictable, sad thing.
Does Cleveland need a quarterback, Kelly?
Cleveland. I mean, I'm still going to stand behind Baker. I've stood behind Baker since he showed up. I'll keep standing behind Baker till he gives me a definitive reason not to.
But hasn't he given you a definitive reason over the last year?
I think last year I put a lot of it on Kitchens and the fact that he was someplace he did not belong, leading guys that he was not prepared to lead, and that was just a cluster of disaster. I still think Baker, with the right circumstances, Baker with the right leadership. I mean, I don't know. Is Stefanski the guy? Isn't he? We've been asking ourselves, is this the guy in Cleveland forever? But I wasn't expecting a lot because I know the Ravens are that good. I'm actually more interested in Thursday when we visit with your Bengals to see. I think that's going to be a more fair test of, are we, do we have anything put together? Because, obviously we were awful. Chubb looked good for a minute until the Ravens defense said, we're shutting you down. Hunt looked good for a minute. Hunt could be a beast if he could just get, his legs moving. But yeah, I think this was really a case of, we did bad, but they're that good. And I really see the Ravens as like a huge dominant force. It's painful to see J.K. Dobbins running so well for them. Is another great Buckeye. But I'm going to stand by Baker. The kid has just been thrown into chaos, and we have all the talent in the world. We just don't have it put together in any way, shape, or form. It's still a team sport.
All right, Sam, what's your take? Do the Browns need a quarterback?
I'm starting to lean that way. I think Baker Mayfield will be successful. If he was on a better organization, I think he would be successful. I still have faith in him as being a starting quarterback, but not in Cleveland. I mean, and again, this could all change in week 2. He could go out and throw for 4 touchdowns. Who knows? But at the same point, I'm losing faith in Baker Mayfield because he has so many opportunities. He has so many pieces. He just hasn't put together the past 2 years. Now, granted, he's had 3 coaches in that time frame, so it's not like I can blame him entirely for the situation. But again, it's never going to get better in Cleveland. It's the same thing every year. So I'm like, if it's going to work out somewhere else.
I'm a Bengals fan. It can't get better in Cincinnati. I'll admit it. Just quit being a homer.
No, you got to keep the faith, man, even if you look silly going down.
All right. Well, I don't want to look silly, but I do anyway because I'm still a Bengals fan. All right. The Buffalo Bills dominated the New York Jets 27-17. Adam Gase is another guy that needs to be shown the door. My only worry for Shelley is he'll end up being the next coach of the Cleveland Browns. But Josh Allen, Sam, looked much better yesterday.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, they've added new threats around him. At receiver as well with Stephon Diggs, who had 86 yards and 8 receptions. I mean, if that's the key there to get that connection going, I mean, you could see Josh Allen take a significant step forward. I've never been a Josh Allen believer. I think he still turned the ball over twice with 2 fumbles the other day. So that's a concern for me going forward. It's always been a concern for him since college. But at the same point, looked much better. It was against a terrible Jets defense, so I'm not going to put a huge sum of money into that. But at the same point, significant improvement of what I thought I was going to see. And the Jets, on the other hand, played much worse than what I expected.
Well, I think the reason we'll see Josh Allen improve is I think Sean McDermott's one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think they've got a lot of talent around him. They went out and got Stephon Diggs. They've got a solid offensive line. Shelley, I think the Bills, I mean, you've got to look at the Chiefs and the Ravens as the top two teams.
Right.
But if I had to go with third best team in the AFC, I think it's the Buffalo Bills.
They looked good, and I don't know. Allen was all right, and like Sam said, this was against a really crap Jets defense. Although I didn't expect anything out of the Jets either, but they did, show up and lace their cleats. And I wouldn't even mind if it were the Bills that made some movement around the AFC. I've always kind of felt like we were kindred spirits hanging out at the misery of Lake Erie. But yeah, they looked decent. McDermott, who's to say? He can do a lot. I wish he was in Cleveland, but
No, but I'm pretty sure McDermott wants to coach in the NFL, though. So Cleveland was picking that out.
Oh, God. I also wish Sean Payton was in Cleveland. Hell, we should have kept Greg Williams, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, anybody that's any good is not going to stay there anyways.
They get, yeah. It's always next year. Come on.
Yeah. The bad thing is you're talking about next year, and we're getting ready to go into week 2, Shelley.
Actually, I'm not ready to give up on this year yet because I haven't.
Joe Burrow throws 4 touchdown passes, and the Bengals throttle the Browns.
Actually, I never give up. You could ask anyone who knows me well. I will hang on till you pry the Browns football from my cold dead hands. But that's just my problem.
You sounded like Charlton Heston there at an NRA meeting.
Yes, take it from my cold dead hands. But now I don't give up because I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah, there's no reason to give up. Hell with it. I know. I'm a Bengals fan. I hold out every hope. Even though I knew Fat Randy was going to miss that field goal at the end of the game yesterday.
Yeah,
all right, next up, the Las Vegas Raiders 34 to Carolina Panthers 30. So Josh Jacobs once again played well, had 3 touchdowns. I don't see where the Raiders are really a threat in the AFC West, especially since the Kansas City Chiefs are there. What was your take on this game yesterday, Shelley?
I still can't get used to saying Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, so just right off the bat, this was weird. I don't know. The Raiders they're not gonna be knocking anybody's socks off, but I think they played a solid game. Carolina they weren't bad. I don't know. Honestly, I barely skimmed it because I'm still stuck on the fact that what the hell are the Raiders doing in Vegas? But I have too many emotions behind my football.
I never could figure out how to call them the Los Angeles Raiders, and that was years ago.
That was stupid too. Yeah.
But all right, so Teddy Bridgewater didn't look bad. Derek Carr looked all right. I think both of these offenses looked better than what I expected them to look like, Sam.
No, you're right. That's exactly what I was going to say. Look, putting up 30 points for both the Raiders and Panthers, I would have thought that would have been the stretch for either of those teams. But Carr's always been steady. I don't think he's a phenomenal quarterback, but he's certainly a starting caliber QB. You got Josh Jacobs, they said he's going to be big for them going forward. 3 touchdowns, 93 yards, phenomenal game for him. Henry looks good in his first NFL action. They're going to be looking for improvement from him and get him more involved, but he looked pretty good. On the other hand, Teddy Bridgewater, it's his first start in like 5 years, and he played all right.
Greg, who's a Browns fan, was 5 when they last won, and he doesn't give up hope either. So there you go. Greg and Shelley, kindred spirits.
I was not alive when they last won, but hey,
You don't have to brag about not being home. I wasn't born last time the Browns won anything either. And you said kindred spirits in Buffalo, but at least Bills fans have seen their team in the Super Bowl 4 times.
Yeah, 4 times. That's where I have to ask myself, is it worse to go year after year after year and be bashed? Or, is it better, to have loved and lost than never loved at all? I don't know.
It is better to have at least gotten there so you know what it feels like instead of just you know how this is. I know how you are, Shelley, because I know how I am with the Bengals. And every year when the teams are running on the field, don't you just think, wonder what that would feel like if that was my team.
Of course, absolutely. And I
See,
still
my
believe.
team's been there twice, so
Yes,
I already
they
know what
have.
it feels
So,
like.
yeah, I don't know. What can I say? I
I'm glad you
still,
all fired Paul Brown. That was the brilliant move that started it all
you
for the
know,
Cleveland Browns.
I've never liked Modell, but I think the only thing I hate him more for was moving the team. But yeah, again, I wasn't around for that. What the hell that was, I'll never know.
All right, Seattle Seahawks, as always, were led by Russell Wilson, who was 31 of 35, which included 2 drop passes for 322 and 4 touchdowns. I still think Russell Wilson's the best quarterback in the NFL, and I don't even think it's close. I know everybody loves Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, but I'll take Russell Wilson any day, and I think he proved a little bit why yesterday, Sam.
When we look at my new quarterback power rankings, guess who's going to be at number 1? It's going to be Russell Wilson because, like you said, he was phenomenal yesterday. He should have had a perfect passer rating, if not for, like you said, a couple drops. But he's been fantastic, and now you got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Brennan, Chris Carson in the backfield. This might be his best supporting cast in terms of offensive weapons since they last won the Super Bowl. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen this year. I think Seattle is a 10 to 12 win team potentially. I know you're not that high on them as opposed to me, but
actually I am. I am that high on them because you don't have the big guy that's going to get all the sacks, but the defensive line applied regular pressure to Ryan. And with newcomer Jamal Adams in that defensive backfield, I think this team's definitely a Super Bowl contender, Shelley.
Yeah, and, Pete Carroll finally said, go ahead, Russell, have at it. And look what happened. That was fantastic. There was no, let's be safe, let's be conservative, let's just stay on the ground. It's like, you have this elite quarterback. Let him do what he does. And Carroll's like, oh wow, the light clicked on. This is what we should do. And that was Wilson's phenomenal. I would easily say he's top 1 or 2. I know everybody's a Patrick Mahomes fan, but yeah, that was great. I was excited.
My only take on that is Russell Wilson's done it for close to a decade. And if you switched their teams, I don't think Patrick Mahomes would have got the Seahawks to the playoffs the last few years. But I think if you switched their teams, I think Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson would have already won 2 Super Bowls with the Chiefs. And I think we'd go ahead and just give him the trophy now if he was the quarterback on that team.
Well, I'll say this as well. I think Russell Wilson maybe doesn't have the arm strength that Mahomes does, but he's a better deep passer. And, of course, he's much better on the short and intermediate throws than Patrick Mahomes is. He's probably the most accurate quarterback in the NFL.
Well, I'll give you this. Joe Montana did not have the arm strength of Gus Frerotte, but Joe Montana was a much better quarterback.
No contest.
Maybe my favorite game, the Indianapolis Colts and all their fans that think they're going to be good got bit by Minshew mania. He was he threw 1 incompletion yesterday, and they beat the Colts 27-20. And the reason I think Sam and I were both so high on the Colts going into the season is because we figured this is going to be a team with an O-line, 2 really good running backs, and Phillip Rivers is only going to have to throw the ball 20 to 25 times a game. And what happens? They come out, Phillip Rivers throws the ball like he's in L.A. with the Chargers. He throws the ball 40-some times. And they get beat by a Jacksonville team that's not very good. And the most impressive player to me yesterday was C.J. Henderson for the Jacksonville Jaguars as a rookie cornerback, Sam.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. I was a little worried about Henderson coming out of college because he was a lot of athleticism there, but maybe a little bit raw necessarily in terms of coverage. But he played great. I think he had an interception the other day. He had one of the 2 interceptions that Rivers threw. And again, 46 pass attempts. I just don't understand it. It's an easy formula. Look at what Baltimore did last year. Look at what the 49ers did last year. Just run the ball. If you have a good offensive line, run the ball 40-something times. And you had Hines, who's a good receiving back. You have Marlon Mack. Of course, they're saying he tore his Achilles, so he's going to be done for the year. But you had Mack for about half the game. You have Jonathan Taylor. You've got a lot of depth there. You got other guys on the bench, too, who are pretty good as well who didn't get any carries. So I just don't understand. It's not like you have a premier receiving threat right now either. So just to me, it just doesn't make any sense the way they handled this game. I think Frank Reich needs to get his head on straight and figure out what he's working with here in Indianapolis, because this is not what you would do with most teams.
Yeah, now with Marlon Mack being out for the season, Shelley, the concern is this is what we're going to see from the Colts with Phillip Rivers having to throw 40 passes to win. And at his age and with his propensity for turning the ball over, that doesn't lead to having a great season, I wouldn't think.
Now, again, if you have a great offensive line, play to your strengths. I don't care what they are. A good coach knows what your strengths are, and then he works from that point. Rivers shouldn't be throwing the ball that often, but now, like you said, Mac out, you're going to have to throw the ball more. And I think the Colts season just went from okay to not so very good.
Well, let me ask you. I think this. I think Jonathan Taylor could be the number one guy, and they could still play that way, Sam.
No, you could. I mean, we talked about how good you thought Jonathan Taylor was the best running back coming out of the draft. And this is a guy who's used to carrying the load for an offense that's not really good at throwing the ball. He did it all the time at Wisconsin. So I think Jonathan Taylor can be the main back. You just have to commit to getting him the carries and making sure he's ready to be the main back. I have a question for you, though, Mike. Do you see a situation in which Jacoby Brissett becomes a starter? Was there a point in time where Frank Reich just says, I can't deal with this anymore, and puts Brissett in ahead of Rivers? Mike, are you there?
Nope.
Nope. Base, that's a no. I was going to say, Shelly, do you think there's a chance that maybe Jacoby Brissett takes back over Philip Rivers? Mike, I don't know if you can hear me now, but we can't hear you yet. But you think there's a chance that takes over Rivers? There he is.
There we go. Just keep talking like nothing happened. All right. Tonight, Monday Night Football, 2 games. We're going to start off. We're going to break down the Steelers and the Giants. I know Shelly is a huge Steelers fan. So, Shelly, do you think the Steelers can pull it out tonight?
Oh, Lord, I hope the only thing they pull off is, their helmets at the end of the game. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't paid much attention to what's coming with those guys.
Cleveland Brown with it once they take it off?
Nope. Nope. Yeah, I don't know. I never want anything good for Pittsburgh, I haven't. I know Ben's starting again. Woo. His elbow's all better. Yay. I don't know. The only thing he
pulls off and out is his helmet tonight. So
I don't know. I've never liked Roethlisberger. I put too much emotion into my football, and I know that, and I will admit that. I drag all my emotional biases to everything I look at. But yeah, I hope the Giants beat the crap out of them, but I don't know if the Giants can. Who knows? I'm going to be honest. I have no clue, but I'll be watching with great curiosity and hope. Go Giants.
All right. Sam is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Oh, sorry.
No, Sam, sorry, because he's a Steelers fan. But we could just make this an AFC North show. We just need a Ravens fan, but none of them know how to use it.
We don't want one of those.
Yeah, they don't know how to use computers, so there would be no chance a Ravens fan could be on.
Yeah, no, I'm giving Pittsburgh the edge just because, I mean, I know we talked about the main concern, like Mike, you've had in the past, is look at Pittsburgh's offensive weapons and tell me when you're going to have a guy who is going to be able to go out there and be a true number one option. I would turn that around and say, look at New York's defensive options and look what they have at the defensive back for that linebacker. I just don't think New York has enough to cover even the most mediocre of offensive weapons. So I don't think there's going to be a problem for Pittsburgh tonight. They could probably win by scoring 24 points and hold New York to 17 or something like that.
All right. Greg Gorecki says Chase Claypool will catch the winning touchdown pass.
Hey, if it comes down to the final minutes of the game, I'd be happy with that. I mean, make me watch all the way through the end. But I wouldn't mind a blowout either.
I'm picking the Giants to pull the upset. Screw the Steelers. All right, next up, the Tennessee Titans. We'll go to Denver to battle the Broncos. I think this is a game that Sam is going to miss big time tonight because I think Tennessee will dominate this game and win by double digits, Sam.
Yeah, and I picked Denver, which is why you're saying that. We picked opposite teams here for both these games, but I'm feeling shaky with my Denver pick. I'll be honest, I'm shaky about it because I don't know how the defense is going to hold up. But if they just pound the ball with Derrick Henry, do that thing where you run the ball a total of 35 times a night, get a backup running back in there as well, get him some good carries. They can win that way. Tannehill, the issue will become if Tannehill starts throwing the ball 40 times a game, that's how Tennessee loses. But as long as you stay to this run game and Derrick Henry stays healthy, Tennessee has a chance to win. I'm still sticking with Denver. I think they have a higher potential than Tennessee this year.
All right, Shelly, what do you think? Titans or Broncos?
You know, I'm gonna go with the Broncos too, just more or less for the same reason Sam said. Although Tennessee's not bad, they can, if they can establish a good running game, then I would give them a better chance. But I'm just gonna hop on the Broncos bandwagon for 5 minutes here.
All right, you're both going to be miserably wrong because Derrick Henry will run the ball right down their throats tonight. Ryan Tannehill will throw 2 touchdown passes. Tennessee wins 31-14. How about that, Sam?
Ooh.
Can't wait till you're wrong. I can't wait till it happens. It's going to happen tonight.
How long has it been since I've been wrong, Sam? Has it ever happened?
I don't know if it's ever happened, Mike, so I'm going to enjoy it for the first time, okay?
It's not going to happen. You what? Tennessee's going to win. Even if I'm wrong on the score, Tennessee will win the game. And that's just the way it is. All right. Is there anything else we want to discuss, Sam?
I think we covered most of the NFL news, everything we've pretty much talked about. I mean, we just have to watch tomorrow night's games, see how that works out. My one question, I think you weren't here for this one question. I was going to ask, though, do you think there's a chance that Philip Rivers eventually is replaced by Jacoby Brissett as the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts?
I believe I said that last week, if you remember. I think that the Colts could still win that division if Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback. I think Philip Rivers is probably better right now than Jacoby. But I think with Jacoby, I think they would be more inclined to just run the ball, which I think is their way to win. And, I mean, that's what I think. And we have a question on Twitter from @Cesspool22. Cesspool22. He must be a Steelers fan. He wants to know what we think of Frank Reich taking a knee by himself during the national anthem, Sam.
Yeah, I didn't see the opening game, so I was actually moving into my dorm when that was going on, so I didn't see what happened. I mean, look, it's whatever he wants to do. I'm not going to judge a guy for his decisions. I know you probably aren't going to love it too much.
I don't care what anybody does, to tell you the truth. I just want everybody to leave my ass alone.
Honestly, I think that's about right. But honestly, for him, if it makes him feel better, if it makes him feel like he's accomplishing something, then go for it. If it means he's got more support of his players, that's fine. He might need it, especially with how the season could end up going. But I think, you know what? I'm not going to judge a guy for what he does on the field for pro.
So you think there's a chance he's just trying to keep his damn job by doing that?
Well, no, I didn't. I was just kind of joking. I didn't mean that seriously. But, I mean, there's a chance he could lose his job, I think, if it goes wrong this season.
All right, Shelly.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge him. I'm fine with the guys. They make their decisions. I'm just glad they have the opportunity to make them. I just, don't write them off. Don't fine them. Don't pull all that bullshit that happened a couple of years ago, and let them have their say. I don't think they should shut up and play. I think they have the right. Let them, do whatever.
Damn, Sam. Shelly said a bad word.
Sorry. Do I have to go in timeout now?
Damn. I don't know what to do now. What do we do after somebody cusses, Sam? Are we in trouble now?
I don't know. We're probably not in trouble. We're probably fine. Like, hey, we're doing pretty good numbers
today, too. The really bad words you can't say on TV. Or did I?
George Carlin told you the 7 words, and I think the S word was one of them.
You know what it is. Oh, wow.
But we're not on TV. Facebook and YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, and just like 3 other places, podcast version, so nobody will hear it. All right, so what would you take? Once again, we talked about this at the start. Week 1, I thought the quality play may be down with no preseason games, but I really, and Shelly, I'll direct this at you because me and Sam talked about it a little bit before you got here because you were late. And then you said a bad word, so that's 2 strikes right there.
I'm out now. Okay, bye, podcast.
But the quality in play, the presentation of the game with no fans for the most part, what did you think of it?
I was pleasantly surprised. I was really looking for a lot more, rust, for want of a better word. But I think for the most part, it all looked pretty great. I got to say, I did not enjoy hearing the squeaky sounds of, the net in the Superdome. That was kind of freaky. I mean, I miss the crowd's a big part of it, but I don't think it really did a lot to affect the quality of the game. I thought the players, they were there, they were doing their job. It was weird, but it wasn't god awful.
All right, Sam, we have a question real quick. Full point PPR, need 10 points to win. Melvin Gordon or Darius Slayton?
Yeah, that's a fantasy football question. That's why you're not answering it. But if I had, I'm not a fantasy football expert here. We really don't talk fantasy football on this show. But if you want to go, in my opinion, I would say take Melvin Gordon tonight. I wouldn't trust Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton against Pittsburgh's defense and secondary. Gordon's more likely to get some options out of the backfield. I think he'll get some passes as well. I know he's splitting carries with Philip Lindsay, but I would still think the running back's the better option in this case.
Shelley, are you a fantasy football fan?
Not at all. I'm too much of a team person. Just I tried once. I was bad at it.
Well, I won the only league I ever played in, by the way. That was 5 years ago, but it still was stupid. Not that it was stupid. So if you're, I probably shouldn't say that because we got people that do the fantasy football thing, but I like real football. I'm really not into fantasies. That's why I don't like Star Wars. But all right, question from at Micah 4321. He wants to know if we believe that sports are ruined by all the social justice commentary. Sam?
No.
Sam, you've already cussed. Now play along. Go ahead, Sam.
I mean, look, it's for me, and I think I said this before because I've still watched basketball. I know a lot of people tune basketball off. I still watched it. I mean, to me, it's the game. The game's the same pretty much. I know that announcing's a little bit different. Sometimes they stop and pause for it. But honestly, I'm watching for the football. I'm not watching for the announcers necessarily. So it doesn't ruin the game for me. Honestly, I missed a lot of games yesterday when I'm not watching just the Steelers game straight through, which I always do. Sometimes I'm on Red Zone, and Red Zone is almost always game action. They don't pause for anything really. So to me, it's not a big deal. I don't think it affects my viewing experience really.
All right, Shelley?
I don't think it ruins anything. Exactly what Sam said. When I'm watching football, it's because I want to see the game. I'm not on time enough to watch the pre-games. So honestly, I didn't even catch what happened on any of the pre-games because
I didn't either.
I'm in it for the sports. If it's basketball, then I want to see the guys on the court. I don't care who's standing.
I think that's kind of what the question is here, where we're watching it for the sports. And when people go to watch sports, it usually is an escape from reality.
That's fair, right? But I mean, I guess it's all about how much weight does a person want to put on any particular anything. I mean, if it's going to trigger me that much that it's going to ruin the game, then I should plan on tuning in 5 minutes later. It's kind of what you make it. I still feel like I can escape from my reality to an extent by watching my Browns.
I still think it's stupid to not have a crowd. So
yeah. The Rock and the Queen of England made a fine couple in Kansas City. I thought they were good. Great.
I think the cardboard cutouts are absolutely ignorant. I don't watch baseball just because of cardboard cutouts.
I love the cardboard cutouts.
It's stupid.
No, I think
the virtual fans, that's stupid.
I don't like the virtual fan thing. I'll admit that. The virtual fan thing is kind of distracting, honestly. I'm not a huge fan of that. But I'll say this. I think there are two or three stadiums that are allowing fans right now. There are a couple ones that are still allowing fans to some degree. I think they've seen college football has opened it up. Like I said before, is allowing 19,000 fans in the stadium. When we have our home opener next weekend, I would imagine that by weeks 2 or 3 or even 4, the NFL will start opening things up a little bit more.
I would hope so, because I do find with the NFL, it didn't seem to make that big of a difference because it was kind of like watching a Bengals or Browns game anyways. There was nobody there. And but I mean, like when you watch the NBA and you watch these other sports, and really in the NFL also, I mean, it changes the viewing experience, I do believe. I don't think it changes the way the players play. Because if you're a player or a coach at a high level, you don't even notice anything that's going on around you once the game starts. but I think the optics of it are bad. And I know the TV ratings have dropped big time in almost every sport. I don't know if it's because of Black Lives Matter being involved with it, or if it's because people just, I mean, come on, let's face it. The NBA and the NHL finished their season 4 or 5 months after they started it. It's not really a legit champion. Baseball, you're not going to get a legit champion.
No.
So I think that is why, a lot of the reasons why I don't want to watch it. But I also don't want to see Black Lives Matter plastered all over the court. Because it's obvious that Black Lives Matter, but it's also obvious that that organization is not a place that should be connected to anything decent.
I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend I know anything about this stuff. I spend 25 hours a week researching and writing sports stuff for different websites. I don't even turn on the news anymore. But for Black Lives Matter, are they representing the organization, or is it representing just like the phrase itself? So that's something I've talked about before. So I've talked with people, and I've talked with people who are African Americans who I've known since I was a little kid, and they're saying like they have no idea about the organization. They just say the phrase because it's kind of the thing that has become a symbol to them, I guess, in a sense, but not actually connected to the organization in their mind. So I don't know to what extent is that being used as the individual phrase, or is it being used as the organizational footprint? I don't really know. I'm not
sure the way most of them think of it, but I think that's the way a lot of people think of it when they see that phrase, Shelley.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I don't mind that it's there. I mind when people try to grab onto something and twist it for their own purpose. Yeah, I support the Black Lives Matter. I support what's behind it. I don't know a thing about the organization for real. I don't know how, all the I don't know how they managed to actually get as far as they got, as far as an inroad into professional sports. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I can't for the life of me figure out how it flowed in there so easily.
Well, because it was put there by rich white people. I mean, basically, to me, the Black Lives Matter organization was George Soros, bunch of rich white guys who don't want black people to have their own voice, so they can control the voice by doing this and setting up the group themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the thing is this, I just got a hate speech community standard from Facebook.
Right now?
Really?
Yeah, not for this, but for a comment I made on somebody's post earlier. And that the headline said transgender satanic witch won the nomination for the Republican Party nomination for sheriff in a county. And I just put on there's no such thing as transgender.
And got a hate speech?
And I put the headline should read, a mentally deranged man won. And that is hate speech. So there you go. So that's my hate speech. And see, what I want is this. I want what I said at the start. I just want to be left alone. That's fair. It.
That's fair.
Just leave me alone. I don't need anybody to protect me. Most police officers are good. I think we all could agree with that. Some do bad things. But, right now we've got a place where a couple nights ago you had cops ambushed, in Compton? And you had Black Lives Matter organizers go in front of that hospital and chant pigs and, hoping that they die. So I really don't think the NFL should have anything to do with that phrase just because of that.
Yeah.
And once again, I don't care. I just want to watch the football game. Everybody else, right. I don't give two shits with the safety from the Rams. You said it, so I figured I was all right. I don't give two shits with the safety from the Rams' views on anything. I just want to watch him play football. And that goes also for the quarterback for the Bengals. I just want to watch the football game. Right. I don't care what your views are, and hopefully you don't care what my views are. Because I have a right to my views. You have a right to your views. I just want to watch the football game. And if I pay to watch if I pay to watch somebody play hockey or somebody to play golf, that's what I want to see. I don't care what your personal opinions are on anything.
Yeah. And I think that's what it comes down to. Have an opinion, have all the opinions you want, stand behind your opinions, whatever. But I don't want, I'm not going to base my fandom on, oh, did you kneel? Did you stand? Did you stay in the locker room? I'm glad they have the options to do what they want to do. But yeah, I don't see it as, this is broken beyond the realm of sports. And the athletes I'm glad they have a right to speak out. I don't care what you put on the back of your helmet. This is broken beyond that kind of fixing.
See, I do care what you put on the back of the helmet when you put people that are career criminals on the back of the helmet. And next week, I don't think they'll put the name of the police officers that were ambushed on the back of helmets. Why is it all right to do it one way but not the other? So what we're getting here, the only message we're getting here is that every police officer is bad. That is the message.
Didn't Tyler Eifert put the name of a former police officer who was killed in the back of his helmet, I'm pretty sure?
Yeah. Tyler Eifert. We don't see the entire NFL pushing that. We don't see them having a moment of silence for police officers that were killed in the line of duty. So Tyler Eifert did that on his own.
True.
They're not going to say anything about it. They're letting everything else go. But number one, I don't want to see anybody's name on the back of any helmet. I don't care.
Also this. I have one of my best friends growing up. His dad was a police officer for many years, and he's been very supportive of me throughout the whole entirety of my life. I think so. It is frustrating when you see people on Twitter, social media, whatever, saying all cops are bad. And it's absolutely incorrect. Now, I know we definitely have some bad cops in the country. I'm not denying that. Everyone knows that. It's easy to recognize that. But I think the idea of I was just saying everyone in this one side is bad. If you're not with me, you're just a terrible person. I think that's entirely incorrect. That's just narrow-minded.
Let's face it. Right now, if you want to fix the problems in the black community, I'm not black, so maybe I'm wrong here, but I've coached inner city schools before. And if we want to fix stuff, we need to go there and fix the education there. We need to fix it so kids don't have to worry about getting shot when they're going to school, and not by cops, but by just about anybody. So, there's a lot of things that need to be taken care of in this country that never will be taken care of because the powers that be, the people that run everything, and I'm not talking about the president, want to divide us. They want us fighting with each other so they can do whatever the hell they want to us. And the things that are going on in this country right now, if you knew exactly what was going on, you would be completely blown away. Because this shit is only going to get worse. Because this is not about white and black. This is about rich people, a predator class, and the poor people. They've eliminated the middle class. And now what they're going to do is they're going to take the poor people, and the people who are almost middle class, and they're going to pit them against each other with some mythical race war. So, the stuff is just old.
Divide and conquer is the oldest strategy.
How many times have you seen somebody that will just post nothing but bad stuff against Trump or Biden, and that's all they post all the time? And if somebody disagrees with them, they unfriend them. We live in a country now where we can't even have a debate about anything.
You're right.
And the thing is,
there's no reasonable discourse.
Yeah, and if I cannot debate my point, I'm wrong anyway. And the thing is this, if you would vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump, there's something freaking wrong with you either way. Because they're both evil dudes. Evil rich guys that don't give two craps about me, you, or Sam.
If you're in a high level of politics, I've always thought that you didn't get there easily or honestly. No. I don't.
If you're honest, they'll shoot your ass.
Well, the game is set up. That's how it's played. If you don't play the game with them, you go there as a congressman, a freshman congressman, your best intentions in the world. You're going to do good. You're going to do this, that. If you don't play their game, they will block you out of everything important, make you look completely ineffective to your constituents, and guarantee that you're done. You play the game if you want to be there.
Big Pharma start throwing money at you, and then all of a sudden you kind of change your opinion anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is an old movie, but have you guys ever seen like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington or whatever it was?
Yeah.
You've seen a movie,
I mean,
finally, Sam. All right.
I did see a movie. Yeah, I saw. It's a running joke on this show that I've never seen a movie
Never
ever.
seen a movie? Well,
He's never. Every time I ask him, he's never seen Slapshot.
Yeah, no. So I've seen that movie. It's kind of like basically what they're talking about, and it's been true since whenever they made that movie, however long ago that was.
Dude, it's been true since this country was. It's been true since the beginning of time. You know, I mean, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yep.
And that's what happens. You give all these people power, and they just take advantage of it. And it's shoved down our throats when we watch football. It's shoved down our throats when we watch Fox News. It's shoved down our throats when we watch CNN. No matter what it is, everybody has an agenda now. And I'm tired of that. That's why when I turn it on ESPN, I don't care what Mike Tirico thinks about politics. I really don't. I think he struggles enough trying to tell us what happened in a ball game. So don't tell me about politics also. Just everybody just shut up, show me the game. You know what? If I want to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask. If I want to go to a game, I want to go to a game. If I have to risk my life to do that, that's up to me. You know, the government's not there to protect me. I don't need protection. You know, the police are there to enforce laws. They're not really there to protect you because if somebody's breaking into your house at 2:00 in the morning and you call the cop, it's too late.
Yeah.
So I've got protection in my house. If you break in my house at 2 a.m, I'm going to shoot you. That's just the way it is. I don't need to be protected. I just need to be left alone. And that's how I feel about that.
Running over an hour now. We've got a pretty long show here.
I know, but there's a lot of people on like 5 different platforms that are listening to us right now. So we're just going to keep talking until it drops below 30.
Keep talking until they're all gone.
Yeah, which won't be much longer. But all right, anything else, Sully? Anything else, Sam?
No, I mean the one injury I'll bring up was Dallas loses Leighton Vander Esch again for 6 to 8 weeks, I think, with a broken collarbone. And Dallas has already been beat up defensively with injuries, so I think losing for Leighton Vander Esch is going to probably tank their season. He was one of the best linebackers in the NFL.
But it's not going to take their season because they're in the NFC East.
Well, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, you could probably you could potentially win with 7 games. 7 wins, you could win that division.
Hey, I really believe this. If you put the Bengals or Browns in the NFC East, they'd still finish third. Shit. All right, Shelly, tell everybody where they can follow you on Twitter.
It's well, now I have to know my Twitter handle. God,
come on, Shelly.
It's at Shelly 0514 is my Twitter.
All right. Why's everybody got all the numbers behind their names? I never have numbers behind mine. You can follow me at Grilling Truth. See, no numbers. Sam Teets, at Sam Teets, of course, 33. He's got a number.
Twitter gave me those numbers. I tried to just be me. They said
We're just not as original as you, Mike.
All right.
They weren't interested in just me. It's sad but true.
All right. Tomorrow we will be back to talk NFL at 1 o'clock. We'll recap the games from tonight. I want to make sure everybody checks out our sponsor, Replenishing Care and Technologies, rcandt.com. You can hear our podcasts all on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, over 300 different places you can hear our podcast. You can hear our live show daily on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Twitch, Periscope, a bunch of other places that I don't even know what the hell they are. So make sure you check us out every Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So for now, for Shelly, Sam, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening and watching to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.